So, on the Fullview yesterday, we hosted journalist Foeta Krige for a review of his book, The SABC 8. Now, during the interview, I asked him to expand on sections of the book that made reference to two SABC employees, whom he said had mentored former SABC COO Hlaudi Motsoeneng. Let's take a listen to that clip on how he perceived that relationship. You also refer to, you talk about two female journalists who were very close to him, who later nurtured him. And what were you trying to point to in the book? That they were complicit, that they were instrumental in his greater scheme of things? And could you just tell us, I mean, you do name them, but please go ahead for the benefit of
the people that I spoke to that worked with him in the newsroom describe them as very close. If you look at their path within the SABC, how...
And who are you talking about here?
I'm talking about the head of radio news, Sebulelo, and Sophie Mokoena, that worked with Hlaudi in the Bloemfontein newsroom, and how they eventually ended up in Auckland Park in very high positions, in very powerful positions. And I think
is it your view that they were somehow connected to the events that then unfolded by sheer power of the offices that they held or the influences that you saw them as having?
Well, I refer to an incident in 2014, just before the elections, where Sebulelo, the head of radio news, walked into my office and said, listen, you're not going to cover anything of the EFF. And I disagreed with her, and I said, no, it's impossible. We as journalists should cover all the parties that's going to participate in the election. And then she said to me, but it's instruction from the 27th floor. So there are definite incidents where we were instructed, also Krivani Pillay, that Sebulelo would walk into our office or phone her and say, listen, you're not going to discuss it. You're not going to ask analysts to discuss this or that.
And this matter of these enforcers that you called also became part of a legal wrangle, isn't it? To place exactly where those instructions came from and whether or not they were instructions that they believed in or they were saving their jobs.
Look, we as a SABC 8 gathered a lot of affidavits and we spoke to a lot of people after we were reinstated, because we were trying to get direct access to the Constitutional Court. And all the people had exactly the same story.
Okay. And that was an interview with Foeta Krige yesterday. SABC foreign editor Sophie Mokoena requested a right of reply to that interview. She joins us now. A very good evening to you, Sophie. So, having watched that earlier and today, what did you object to?
Foeta Krige is lying. Hlaudi was just a colleague like Tshepiso Makwetla, who is my colleague, and I interact with. One, I arrived at SABC in 1994. I was based in Johannesburg. I was an anchor of a current affairs on Lesedi FM. I was already senior in terms of age. Hlaudi was based in Kwakwa, not even a freelance or a journalist permanently employed. He was a stringer. Every morning when I was supposed to do my current affairs show, when I was preparing at 4 a.m., I had to go through the scripts and I would interact with Hlaudi's scripts. Where I was not comfortable, I would call him in terms of trying to edit and getting clarity. Two, when Lesedi FM, which was then called Sesotho Stereo, relocated to Bloemfontein, I found Hlaudi Motsoeneng in Bloem as an output member of staff, as a journalist doing field work. Input, I was output, I was a presenter. That's how I was interacting with Hlaudi. But of course, as colleagues, you end up knowing each other. And that is why I knew Hlaudi Motsoeneng as a colleague. And when he wanted assistance, like anybody, even here in Johannesburg, I would often come to you to say, Tshepiso, can you help me with this? Tshepiso, can you share a meal with me? As Africans, I'm not your friend, but we are colleagues.
And you're speaking in reference to the relationship you had then with him,
it was a professional relationship. I left Bloemfontein in 1999. I went to Cape Town to join the political team. My editor was Professor Anki Krog, who mentored me in terms of political reporting responsibility. I left Cape Town Parliament. In fact, I requested a transfer because I had challenges. I had a family and children here, and it was very difficult for me to be in Cape Town. When Vuyo Mvogo became my political editor, I pleaded with him to give me a transfer to come and join the political team in Johannesburg. I did just that.
Okay.
I became a political editor for 15 years. After 15 years, when I was sidelined, we know, you can Google, the stories were written. The 2014 incident that he is referring to in terms of a decision, the alleged decision that was taken not to cover the EFF, I was out in the cold. I was taken out of the politics team because the argument was that I give opposition parties a platform and the EFF was not in parliament. And when they went to Kempton Park to prepare for the elections, I was sidelined. I didn't go. When they came back, apparently there was a memorandum where the team that went to Kempton Park workshop to prepare for election wrote a memorandum raising their concerns around political interference. There was a meeting. I stood up in the meeting. It was a line talk. Management was there, senior management. They wanted clarity about that memorandum. Everybody was silent. I stood up. I defended my colleagues to say, you cannot charge the junior staff members for drafting this memorandum when the senior management of news was there and they aligned themselves with that memorandum, raising concerns about interference rearing its ugly head.
May I ask this
Can
question?
I finish, Tshepiso? Because if you feel this, what they are raising here, it's against the policies of the SABC, charge the senior management of news. Everybody was shocked, and then senior management admitted that they were part of that memorandum, and that's how I played my part to save my colleagues. I was not even at that workshop. Therefore, you can't come and tell me at some point in time I took a decision not to cover EFF. Yeah. In fact, I took a flag for covering EFF. I took a flag previously in 2009 for covering COPE. So
the reference to the EFF was not to do with you, but I'll ask you the question. Have you read the book?
I didn't. I want to be honest with you. I know my contribution at this institution. I work very hard. I go extra mile. I do my level best to contribute in terms of enhancing the content, and I am not going to be distracted by other issues.
Are you going to take action?
I am taking a legal action based on what was said about me here yesterday, because I'm not a product of Hlaudi Motsoeneng. In fact, on many occasions, I've gone to his office to say, I am not going to do this. You remember when they spoke about banning of visuals? I saw the SABC statement at 11 midnight that day. I called the head of television, same time, to say, I am not going to implement this. What kind of statement is this? She said to me, let's go and tell Hlaudi exactly that. 8 o'clock, I was in Hlaudi Motsoeneng's office to say, I don't agree with this memorandum or this statement or this decision or this policy. He said, no, it's because it's not banning, but we are saying people must be careful. I said, I'm happy you are saying that. Can you get Kaiser Khanyago to go and clarify this matter? Because I'm going to continue with my work business as usual, because I told you that when I assist in terms of being a political editor, you must allow me to do my work. That's it. You can ask the people who were there, Kaiser, you can ask Hlaudi, you can ask head of television then. And I know that Jimmy Matthews, our former boss, did divulge the fact that there were decisions that were taken, but he indicated that it was management's decision. He did find his Damascus moment, and anybody can err and deserve a forgiveness. He has indicated where the problem was.
In your legal recourse, what are you seeking from Foeta Krige? What are you accusing him of doing?
Apology. Secondly, damages to my name, the reputation.
All right. Thank you very much for speaking to us. SABC foreign editor Sophie Mokoena.